Welcome back to Harmon Homestead, guys. I've got a special little guest here with me today. This is George. He is a frizzle Cochin Bantam rooster. So I had someone ask me something a couple weeks ago. They said, hey, we walked outside and we noticed chicken feathers everywhere and we think something tried to get our chicken but just was not successful. Well, the more they started talking, the more I understood that they were saying that their chicken was going through something every chicken does once a year, and that's called a molt. What is molting? Once a year, usually, a chicken will drop its feathers. It will lose a good bit of its feathers, and it will actually reset and re-gear. That's the best way to explain this. If you have a hen, usually during this time, her egg production will stop. A rooster will not be as fertile, usually, or not want to reproduce as much, and they will regrow their feathers and reset. This is just something a chicken goes through. So if you notice a lot of feathers on the ground, that's usually what's going on. A hen will just look pitiful. So will a rooster. They just look bare. And what you'll notice is on the feathers that are falling out, they'll fall out completely. But you will notice some, like George, see all those spikes? That's like the follicle that's coming out, and these new feathers are coming back in. See right there? He's lost a lot on his back. Now, George is particularly, he has a hard time with molting because his feathers are so brittle. See that? That's all the new feathers coming back in, okay? And they regrow, and they get a new coat. So how can you stop this? You can't. It's nature. Guys, a lot of people, especially in chicken plants, they will keep lights on these chickens 24/7, trying to encourage them to lay when they're going through something like this. They usually don't even keep chickens till they get to a molt. But a lot of people will try to put light on their chickens. That way they'll have more sunlight. Sunlight helps with regrowing the feathers and come out of this quicker. I am 1000% against any kind of electricity in a chicken coop. I think it's just a dangerous situation. I don't think you need a heat lamp out there trying to keep them, you know, that's just me. That's just me. We just let ours do, but we live in a warmer climate. We're down here in the South. I just don't like the idea of that. I see how chickens can tear up a coop, how they fly up into stuff, they flog stuff. I wouldn't want a chicken flying up into a heat lamp or a light. I just would not want that. That's just me. But people will try to increase their light. One thing that's great about George and the rest of mine is they're not in just a coop and a run all day. They free range. So they can get out, they can forage, yada, yada, yada. That's great. Second of all, people will increase protein. A lot of times people will give mealworms to these chickens. They will give grubs. They will try to increase protein because the feathers are high in protein content. That doesn't hurt. If anything, it's kind of a comfort to give these chickens, increase their feed, just to make them feel better and make everything come back in and speed on up a little bit. Last but not least, a hen, when she's going through a molt, again, will lose her feathers. She'll stop egg production. Again, people try to put this light on them, but the only thing I have found that really kind of does help, just with me, is I have seen an old wives' tale. People will put dried cayenne pepper in their feed, just a little bit. The heat increases their metabolism. I've been told chickens can't taste heat. They eat it up, they gobble it up, and it does seem to help quicken the molt. Now, what do we do to keep eggs all winter? What I like to do is usually my chickens right now, my older ones, are going through this molt. And see, that's just pitiful, y'all. They get plumb pitiful looking. Their feathers fall out, and you just see these barbs, these follicles everywhere. What I will do is I hatch my chickens starting in January and I end in May. My older ones were on the same schedule. They molt, the way I've got it, in the fall of the year, while the new ones are starting to lay. So in the wintertime, my chickens have kicked back up. They've gone through their molt and they're ready to start laying again, even though the daylight hours are decreased. That's the best thing you can do with a molt. The best thing is the time of year that you hatch your chickens. Hatch between January and April. That way you have eggs, or May. That way you have eggs all winter long, because otherwise, guys, you can't force nature. That you can't. You can't make a chicken come out of a molt. I mean, it's just terrible. There's things you can do to help it, but there's not much you can do to stop it. I've never heard of anybody not having a chicken molt. If they are, it's something like a chicken farm factory, egg factory, where it is not conditions that we would like for our chickens. Okay? Free range, sunlight, dried pepper. It helps their metabolism just in a scant amount. It did seem to help increase their feed. fresh water and just take care of them. A lot of people put apple cider vinegar in their water. Sometimes I do, depending. A lot of times in the winter when it's just murky weather and it's not good outside, there's not much for them to forage, so that's what we do. But if you see their skin just like that, see George's neck, see his follicles here, he's molting. There's tons of feathers everywhere, all around his coop in the yard, and in fact, my drake, Okie, is molting, and I'm going to show you that really, really quick. He's a Muscovy drake. I want you to see that, and I want you to understand what it looks like when a chicken molts. I'm going to show him Okie, George. Well, we're going to show him. We got to put you back to your little coop. Yes. So you've been the star of the show today. All right, guys. This is my duck pen. Now, I changed this water yesterday. Look at this. Now, y'all, glancing from the deck, I said, something's got my duck. Something's got my duck. But I started noticing Okie, right here, my biggest drake, he's pulling out his wing feathers. If you can see, the left side's a little bit longer than the right. He's pulling out his feathers. He's molting. Look at the water. He's pulling out his feathers. This is what it looks like a lot of times when something molts. Now, Okie, my drake back there, he's huge. So, of course, his feathers are bigger. You know, it's going to look worse. And then the duck feathers, they have this down, all these smaller feathers in between. But it's just an animal molting. My hens are molting. Look at, this is Minnie back here. See her feathers? They're starting to come out. It's time for her to reset, re-gear. That's what molting is, okay? So if you see a bunch of feathers in the yard, don't panic. Just make sure your chickens and ducks and animals are okay. But it will look like, you know, just a disaster has happened. That's what happens. This is nature, guys. So what am I going to do? For comfort, I'm going to increase his protein. We're going to feed him some extra protein. And I am going to change his water again. Make sure we have good, clean, fresh water. I kept him up today because I wanted him to get in the water to help his feathers. But normally, as up until yesterday, free ranging. I just wanted him to get a good bath, see if it would help. See, he's pulling them out right there. That's normal, y'all. That's just part of molting. These ducks seem to pull theirs out more than the chickens do. The chickens just kind of fall out. But that's what you'll see. And that's part of molting. So don't panic. Just know your egg production is going to go zilch during that time. And then just increase their feed and take care of these babies. Okay, that's molting. If you have any questions, let me know below. Guys, we're Harmon Homestead. Got a lot coming out this week. We'll see you next time.